What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part today. I am so excited for this one for you guys because we're finally in the month of October, and I figured, you know what? Since last year we talked about hell, and the year before that we talked about vampires, and the year before that we talked about zombies, let's talk about Frankenstein. Well, because it was hard for me to find the movie, we're gonna talk about films that were inspired by the original movie and novel. So for today, we're gonna be taking a look at my favorite homage to the source material, which just so happens to be my favorite Tim Burton film, Frankenweenie. Okay, now because the entire movie's in black and white, there we go, much better. So this movie came out back in 2012 and is meant to be an homage and slight parody to a lot of black and white horror movies that came out back in the golden age of cinema. But one of the things I learned about this film was that apparently there was a 1984 movie of the same name, which was also made by Tim Burton. Unfortunately, that movie, or should I say short because it was only 30 minutes long, didn't do too well. So in a way, you can say that this film is kind of a redemption for Tim Burton. But like I said, this movie came out back in 2012 and is an homage to horror films that came out during the golden age of cinema, which spanned from the 30s to the 50s. And we see this movie pay tribute to that when you look at how the entire film is shot in black and white, which very few movies, let alone animated films, do these days. And I think this is one of the reasons why this is my favorite Tim Burton film. Because when you look at something like The Nightmare Before Christmas, that entire movie is colorful with a lot of wacky characters. Or when you look at a movie like Corpse Bride, while the human characters are dulled out and almost emotionless, the monsters are pretty much the polar opposite, who are vibrant in colors and more alive than our human characters. But when you look at Frankenweenie, when you see how the entire movie is in black and white, you are more drawn into the emotions the characters are bringing out, because without color, the scene needs to do more to draw you in. And we see that in our two main characters, Victor Frankenstein and his dog Sparky, who quickly take control of the film when you feel the bond between them. And one of the things that I liked about Victor is, from the beginning, we see how he has a passion for filmmaking and science, which was something that I found very relatable when I took a step back and looked at every character that Tim Burton has ever created. Another thing that I really enjoyed about the movie is how it quickly makes you fall in love with Sparky before ripping your heart out when you watch him get hit by a car. Well, it doesn't stop Victor as he reanimates his dog back to life. And even though this is pretty dark, it kind of takes us back to when we were kids, when we lost our pets and how we wish we could bring them back to life, which is where the movie really takes off when the film reenacts the famous scene that we all associate with Frankenstein.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Not gonna lie, that was pretty much my reaction when I got this VTuber model up and running. Now, one of the other things that I loved about this film is how it's almost a parody of famous monster movies. I mean, while we follow the Frankenstein family, we also have the Van Helsings, an Igor character, and the classic windmill that is associated in Frankenstein lore and mythology. Now, when you look at the monsters in this film, I love how each and every one of them is a callback to the original monsters of cinema, where we have a dog representing Frankenstein, and another dog being the bride of Frankenstein, a cat turned vampire, a rat that is very much like a werewolf, an invisible fish, a mummified hamster, sea monkeys that remind us of the creature of the Black Lagoon, and finally, in my opinion, the best one, a pet turtle that quickly becomes a kaiju, very similar to Gojira, or Godzilla as y'all might refer to him. Now, one of the other things that I loved about this film is how science is perceived, because throughout the movie we watch how a lot of characters practice and view science, where aside from Victor, most of the kids use science for their own personal gain. And because of this, it pretty much throws the town to disarray. Now, from the adults' perspective, they view science as a dangerous thing, and it plays into the ideology of how people are afraid of what they don't understand. And I like how science is neither good nor evil, only certain practices can determine how it is viewed. So overall, I really loved this film, as it gives us a heartwarming story about a boy and his dog, and when you add in the color palette and the subtle references to famous monster movies, you get something really special. So if you're in the mood for some fun monster mayhem, but at the same time want to watch something that'll give you this heartfelt feeling for your pet, I highly recommend you watch this movie. Well, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review for Frankenweenie. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button to see what's up from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.